5% of the economy that was small businesses pre-COVID.
Yeah, and there's so many. I mean, what we're doing is the government is basically giving people that used to own these businesses money, and they're turning around and giving it to Netflix and Chipotle. So the government's borrowing money to give it to Netflix and Chipotle. I mean, it's
Danielle, can you reconcile that statistic, about the small businesses with what we see reported as the small business optimism? We see that number just be really elevated, the optimism is, and it just doesn't reconcile with the composition of small business,
Yeah, the paychecks with an X, I pay a lot more closely attention to that index than I do to the NFIB, because the NFIB will turn very negative on January 20th. So it's
paychecks, you say, Paychex?
PHX. They've got a small business employment index. It's got a nice history. And I follow them a lot more closely than I do the NFIB these days.
Why do you say it will turn negative January 20th?
Because the NFIB is extremely political, extremely partisan.
Oh, really?
So the data
it's a bunch of Republicans.
Yeah, very right.
Uh-huh. I never knew that.
I never really saw it take a hit with COVID, even though the small business sector's been gutted. You're like, where's the disconnect here?
29% of the small businesses that were open at year-end 2019 are shut. 29%.
So I'll give you another fun fact about economic statistics. If Ed is back, hopefully you can hear this. He mentioned, the very strong ISM this morning. ISM basically surveys everybody who signs up to be a member. I think it's $200 to be a basic member of the organization, and you too can fill out a survey. After the financial crisis, they lost 40% of their membership. So to augment their survey, ISM also sponsors a lot of logistics courses at universities. So up to 20% of the survey could be college students that are studying logistics. And I was joking today that when the ISM hit 60, I said, if I told you it was Michigan State University seniors studying logistics are optimistic on the economy, stock market pops, would you have the same view of it as if I said ISM optimistic on the economy, stock market pops? Because it's essentially the same thing.
It is.
There's a lot of college students that are being surveyed in that now that are studying logistics.
And Jim, you were the first person a decade ago to tell me, careful of the ISM. And it wasn't until market with an I started becoming more prominent, which is C-suite occupants. So they're actual decision makers as opposed to purchasing managers who aren't in charge of hiring and firing. So it's a much different prism. So and market with the IT, you can compare and contrast across the globe.
Well, the chief economist at ISM used to be a guy named Norbert Orr. I think he left around 2010 or 11. And he just blasted the surveys on this way out the door, saying that they were kind of useless. He went over to market, helped them start their surveys.
Look, there's so much survivorship bias right now in every single survey. We're not realizing that we're only hearing from companies that are still with us.
Right.
You've even got, smaller auto suppliers that are going belly up. I mean, up and down the supply chain, things are not what they're advertised, especially in the ISM.